maybe it's the right reason for you, but if you were doing it for validation and you liked it and you liked it and you liked it and 5 people liked it, you'd think, well, why not 6? Why not 7? Why not 100? Why not 101? It will never be enough because you're using that to validate yourself.
Hello guys, welcome again to Higher Take. Next to me is my co-host Waleed as usual, and today we have with us a life coach, a woman leader, and most importantly, a beautiful soul. Ladies and gentlemen, Noona Nafoosi. How are you doing, Noona?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be joining you.
We're very excited to have you. I mean, a life coach, man.
Yeah.
And that's only the beginning of it, in my opinion. There's a lot to Noona that I think she will provide lots of value to our audience. I mean, we're very excited to have you. And given your vast experiences and the multiple industries that we're going to dive deep into in a bit, I think you'll be able to provide some amazing insights that our audience will be able to use and implement in their daily lives so that hopefully they will be able to achieve their, objectives, their ambitions. So again, thank you very much for being here with us. And I'm looking forward for this next hour or so.
So as Walid mentioned, we have so many things to dig deep into. And I want to take you a bit into a trip into memory lane. So first you pursue the degree in psychology, and then you pursue the degree in economics. And then you shifted so many jobs. So you started a marketing job and then a recruitment job and then back to marketing and then back to recruitment, which ultimately led you to where you are today. And that's a life coach. Can you elaborate on how was their journey from the beginning to the start?
Yeah, so actually they were all recruitment jobs. It's just that I was recruiting salespeople and then recruiting marketing people. So my whole career has been recruitment.
And recruiting.
Yeah, It's all been recruitment.
Amazing. And how was that like? When you were recruiting, like what's some of the main aspects, you look into, and how did you leverage this experience, to use it in life coaching? Because in recruiting, you've seen like thousands of people. And we know how many interviews companies do in order to recruit one person.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've seen lots of candidates. Like what makes them, the successful candidate?
I think, and this is what got me into coaching, I think to be very good at in an interview, you have to have the belief that you're worth the job that you're applying for. And this is how I became a coach. So I would interview people, and I've probably done over 10,000 hours. I calculated it. I think it's about 14,000 hours of interviews. I started at 20. And what I noticed is that there'd be 2 people for a job with the same skills, but the minute someone walked in, I could tell if they were going to get the job or not.
The second they walked in.
The second.
So what about? It's about their posture, their presence in the room.
It's more than that. It's the energy.
It's the energy.
It's how they hold themselves. They don't even need to speak. It's how they hold themselves. It's how they smile. It's how they use their language, how they open them. Like everything
The handshake.
The handshake. Very important. Yeah.
These are very, very good points, but I want to get more into it, but maybe you can give us an overall approach of who is Noona Nafoosi. I mean, Maher did a very good introduction. He said you've worked in recruiting, obviously, then you made it into life coaching. So how did you get there? How did you start? Where did you start?
Yeah, so when I was 26, I did an NLP course, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is all literally a manual for your brain. And I just remember my mind being absolutely blown. And I felt like someone had given me a new pair of glasses to see the world, because they were teaching you about the power of language, the power of how to understand how someone was thinking in how they were moving their eyes, how people react to things, how you could tell someone's lying just through their breath, just everything. So I became obsessed. And this really helped me with my interviewing as well, because I could use everything that I learned to really get to know someone really deeply.
So this NLP, it's a course about like how the brain functions.
Yeah.
Okay. and you use it, to basically understand people more and more.
Yeah.
So it helped you in recruiting, and you were already in recruiting during
Yeah.
that time.
Yes, I
and
was.
you had a background of psychology. So did you have always this goal of being in recruiting?
The thing I loved about recruiting, and I still do love recruiting, I think it's one of the most important things to get right in a company. You have to hire the right people. And the thing that I loved about recruitment is that I could go into any company. So I would recruit from CEOs to directors to sales engineers to so many different roles. And the thing that I loved is that I could sit down with anybody and they could tell me what their business was doing and I would get it straight away. And I would understand what type of person they needed to fill that role. That's one. Number two, when you're recruiting, you've also got to recruit someone who's going to fit in the culture of the company. So by just walking into the office, by just speaking to the manager, by getting to talk to them, I would know if that person would fit, not just from their skills, but culturally would they fit. And when you find someone who fits and then 5 years later they say, I'm still here and I've been promoted and I've moved to this country and their children have gone to a better school, there is nothing like it. So I really think recruitment, I have such a passion about it. I still do. I think it's a great job.
Amazing. Maybe I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now, applying everywhere here and there, a lot of people are looking for a job. So what would you, advise them, since you've did a lot of interviews, potentially met a lot of people, what would you advise them? How should they prepare? What companies should they apply for? How should they act in the interview? So maybe these type of stuff, would really help people understand what they should do to succeed, because it's very difficult nowadays to get a job. It's not easy.
I would say the thing that makes someone stands out in an interview is what they do outside of work.
What they do outside of work.
Like you mean their hobbies and what they
hobbies, and that's what I would ask. Like, so what do you do? What do you do for fun?
But sorry, I'm interrupting you. There's this maybe misconception, potentially. I've heard it a lot. The companies don't like, when they're hiring, they don't like to see this candidate doing too many extracurricular activities. For example, if let's say I'm applying for a job and they see that as a startup and leadership experience, I'm still working on a startup. Maybe they're not gonna want me because they want this guy to work all the time, for the company.
For you to focus like solely on
Exactly. So like, I don't know, maybe you've definitely seen more than me. So like, what do you think?
Honestly, I think it depends, what job you're going for. What are you applying for? I think it really does. I honestly believe if you're going to apply for a job, you've got to apply for a job that you truly, truly believe you're going to get. I really do.
So like that. This is a job that you really, really want.
Yeah. And I think already that you have that preconceived idea that people might not look at the fact that you're working for a startup. You've already got a precept of belief that it's not going to happen. So I would say that's where you need to do your work.
That's a very good point, by the way.
It's actually interesting because like you were in recruitment for the most part in your life. But when did you decide to take your game or to take your talent to another level and start as a life coach?
So I was always coaching in my job. So what would happen is I could see that someone would come in for an interview. They culturally had a fit, but something was off. I didn't think that they would get the job. So I would sit with them and I would coach them. I'd say, okay, what's going on? And I could see that they had a limiting belief. They didn't believe that they would get the job. They didn't think that they could get the salary. And so I would work on their mindset. I would work on their limiting beliefs. We'd uncover it. Literally, I'd boost them up and coach them to do the interview and they would get the job.
Oh, that's very nice, because that brings me to my next question. And that is, what are the 3 different types of coaching that you do? So I know you're an executive coach and you like empower women. That's something we're going to get into later. And what's the third one? Is it corporate?
Yes, I do corporate coaching. And I also I do women empowerment, and then I do one-to-one executive coaching as well for leadership.
May I ask you which one is your favorite and how do you allocate like the time for each one accordingly?
My favorite is the one-to-one executive coaching. And the reason why is because I was talking about this to my husband the other day. I was saying, when somebody is so motivated, not motivated, but really successful, and they're really high achievers, but they've reached a ceiling and something in them doesn't feel good, when they unblock that and they have that drive and they put what you've taught them into action, it's like
Amazing.
they go and amazing things happen.
But what do you teach them? Like, is it all about belief? I mean, there's also certain practical things potentially that these executive or these applicants or whatever, like we're talking about executive counseling, but like what exercises can they do to, start potentially believing better or performing better? So like when you have these sessions with them, what do you tell them to do? Like, what's their homework?
Yeah. So really interesting question. So the first thing is, when we have a session, it's like, where are you now? And where do you want to get to? And then we start uncovering. So why do you think you're not there already? What do you think's holding you back? What we start uncovering. And generally 9 times out of 10, there's a blind spot. There's something they don't see. There's a story they're telling themselves. There's a narrative. There's something that's holding them back. Different for everyone. So the homework will be different for everybody. And then once they uncover that, then they go to the next. And then there may be another level that they've got to. So then we uncover. So it's like a bit like an onion. And you're really uncovering for people to get to the core of how to change.
Okay, but is it like so it's, of course, is life coaching in a way similar to psychology? Like if they go to a therapist or something, like, is it similar?
No.
In a way, it's not.
It's very different. So if you were to go to a psychologist, or even a psychotherapist, therapists generally just listen.
Okay.
And don't really advise. A coach asks you questions to get you to think differently.
Okay, so it's practicing the way you think.
Yeah. And it's very action-based. It's like, but how can you think of that differently? And how long have you believed that? And what's the effect of believing that? And what if you believe this? How do you feel? It's very, very question. And what I see myself as a coach is I'm a mentor, and I'm guiding people to unblock different parts of their brain.
100%.
That's very interesting, because you're mentioning how you unblock their different parts of their brains and how they can improve in their daily lives. So I have a question for you, Noona. How do you measure the success of people actually unblocking the things that they should improve upon, or in general? How do you measure the success, and what are the metrics per se you want to put to say okay, this client that I have, he has this type of problem, and we're gonna assess in 1 year, 6 months, 8 months, how are they improving? What do you look at?
Their life changes.
Life changes.
Their life
this
changes.
Is the main metric.
First of all, they start feeling better. They're happier. And then say, for example, it depends what you're coming to me for. Is it because you want to get a promotion? They get the promotion. Is it because you want to raise investment for your company? They'll get more money, more investment. Do you want to have a better relationship with your partner? You're great at work, but you're not very happy at home. And it starts changing. What they feel good.
And then so by uncovering these pieces of onion and seeing, this blind side, they will be able to recalibrate more or less the way they think and see stuff in a different way.
Yeah, and they act different.
They act different.
So once you change the way you think, you feel different. And when you feel different, you take different actions.
Can you tell us maybe potentially about an experience you had with one of your clients? So, I don't know if you can disclose, definitely if you can give an experience, someone that had an issue, and what was the main roadblock, the blind side, how did he overcome it, by taking a different perspective on things. So maybe you can give us an example of how he improved.
Yeah, so I had a client who was a director and wanted to be promoted to a board member. And they also wanted to start doing public speaking. And what they found is that when they were sitting in meetings, they literally couldn't talk. They could talk, but they couldn't speak their mind. And I, as I'm an intuitive coach, not only do I listen with my ears, I listen with my body as well. So I can feel physically where people are blocked. So I could feel there was a block in his throat. I could feel that there was a tightness in the chest. And so I brought that up. We uncovered it. We found out what it was. Now, obviously, time has gone past, got the promotion. And just 3 weeks ago, sent me a video of him standing up in front of the whole board, actually presenting. Wow. So that is a big, and actually when he got promoted, his senior manager turned around to him and said, "You're showing up so differently. What's happened?"
Credits to Noona.
Yeah. Like he said, it was the best return on investment.
Process
3 months. 3 months.
3 months.
Together, yeah, 12 weeks.
Oh, well, 3 months. Yeah. It's a good turnover.
Exactly. I wanted to ask, is this like the average time span for someone to improve, or like, again, is it like a case by case kind of thing?
It really does depend. I generally advise 90 days. And the reason why is because the way our brain is wired, it takes 90 days to develop new neuro pathways.
That's true, yeah.
For your brain so then what happens is you're not thinking, I should say this. You just think it because your brain has created new pathways. So it becomes automatic.
So like if you, that's super interesting. So if you really want to change something, a habit, a very bad habit, something, you need to fight for 90 days. You need to push it through 90 days. If there's something you're stuck on, you know, and you really want to change it. So like in order for your time to process it and like digest it, keep pushing for at least 90 days.
Yeah. And what's 90 days? The time's going to pass anyway. So you might as well spend that time making the change and doing what you want to do.
Exactly. Agreed.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, look,
90 days is a long time.
Man, the thing is, it's scientifically backed up, you know.
It is.
So I like the approach of how you answered this question, and I want to go back a little bit. You were saying something like, for example, in executive coaching, which I think, and you said it's your favorite type of coaching. So sometimes people feel like, oh, I can't do it, or oh, I just not enough. Is it important to value yourself so you can expect others to start valuing you, like in the first place?
Absolutely. It all starts with us. And I'll tell you, it's the best way I can describe it. Say, for example, if you wanted to do a post on Instagram, okay, and you were doing it because you needed to be validated, okay?
That's the wrong reason.
Well, maybe it's the right reason for you. But if you were doing it for validation and you liked it and you liked it and you liked it and 5 people liked it, you'd think, well, why not 6? Why not 7? Why not 100? Why not 101? It will never be enough because you're using that to validate yourself. Compare that to you putting up a post because you love it.
You just love the post.
You love the post.
Like, I want to put it there just for it to be there.
And one person likes it, and you're like, I'm so glad that person
you don't
liked
care.
it.
Yeah, but like you don't. But like you don't care. Like if 1 person or 100%, I'm putting it for my happiness.
And that's the same with self-love and self-validation. If you have it for yourself, you're not searching it from someone else to give it to you. If you are, no matter what that person does, you're never going to feel full.
Yeah, I mean it's important for people to literally love themselves before anything else, and not try to like a lot of people go out there, you know, to find I want this guy to like me or this girl to look at me or whatever and whatever. But like at least from what I think, and it also applies in anything you do, even at work, like focus on yourself first. You know, if you're happy with yourself, love yourself, people will love you, and that's I think how it works. No, that's the best way to do it. Yani. Don't rely on these external elements, you know, the likes, the loves, the comments, whatever. No, just rely on yourself, right?
Yeah, like obviously from the way you're talking, I can see the passion in you and how you want like people to evolve and like love themselves and like value themselves more. When did you realize, Noona, your passion to like willingly give, and when did you capitalize on it? Was it in your recruitment days back then, or was it as a life coach now?
So in my, when I was a recruiter, I would start running training sessions to other recruiters on all of this. So how to change your thinking. And every time I would run one of these sessions, I would like something in me would just glow. I was like, oh my God, this is just, and then I knew that this is my calling now. And then COVID happened, I got made redundant, and it was actually the best thing that ever happened, because I thought, right, it's time for me to follow my purpose in life, which is, I really believe this is my purpose. And this is a job that I will do till my last day here.
Wow. And how do you start? Like, what's the best way? How do you help people, remove these beliefs that they have of themselves, the negative beliefs, so they would reach their ambitions?
It's everything. It's really getting, for me, the biggest thing is to get to people you teach them how to lead themselves. How do you lead yourself when things are bad? How do you lead yourselves when, your life throws up? It's easy to be happy when everything's good.
It is, yeah.
It's really
when things get tough.
Yeah. And so really my teaching is, how can you have the strength to lead yourself when it gets tough? And every time, so it's like, how can you trust in yourself? And the more you show up for yourself, the stronger you are, the more you attract good things in your life. So it's like building that strength inside you to be able to deal with life and be happier and more content. And
it all comes back to internally, how you think of yourself.
Everything starts with yourself.
Yes, so Noona, I want to tell you this. So I was scrolling through your LinkedIn and I saw one of your posts that was very interesting. And that was literally talking about the point that you just mentioned. And that is the duality of emotions that we need to have in our arsenal in order to overcome things in our lives. Just be aware, have this third perspective that, okay, it's not like the end of the world if we're sad, but it's one thing to capitalize on this sadness because the grass is always greener on the other side. So if you had to summarize how important or rate how important it is to be sad, be aware that you're sad, but at the same time, be aware of what are the ways you can take advantage of and turn the sadness into a happy place.
Yeah, I think sadness gets such a bad rep because we all feel emotions. We feel sad, we feel angry. It's just an emotion. Mm-hmm. And the way I see emotions is a little bit like water off a duck's back. It just rolls off. The problem is when we start having thoughts about our sadness. Why am I sad? But I shouldn't be sad. And then you're compounding that emotion. As opposed to just sitting with it, knowing that life is 50-50. You can't feel happiness unless you know true sadness. You don't know what true calmness is unless you felt anger. So when you then give in to the fact that you get to feel all these emotions and it's okay, that's where I think you start stepping into your power. That when you stop yourself having an emotion, you're blocking it inside. But when you feel it.
Don't be scared of it, just feel it.
Then it just goes.
Yeah, that's a very good point because even myself, yourself, we all went through heartaches. We all went through difficult moments, tragedies that happened back in our country, in our personal relationships. Lebanon, lots of horrible things happened, and also Iraq and everywhere. So but when you feel these emotions, like you said, you will be able to feel happiness at a much impactful level, I would say. If you go through a heartache, whatever, you broke up from a really long relationship, but afterwards, when you find back, this love or whatever, you'll be much more happy. You'll appreciate it much, much more. Don't you think?
Yeah, I feel what Noona's trying to say is that we need to embrace, right? We need to embrace the feeling of sadness or any
every emotion.
negative.
Exactly. I think every emotion.
Of course, even if you get a bad grade, let's say on an exam, when you get a higher grade, embrace your emotion. Okay, you're sad about it, you control it, but then when you actually get a good grade on the exam, you'll be much, much happier, right?
Yeah, and even if you did get a bad grade, it's okay, so now I know where the gaps are and where I need to learn. It's all about how you view it. It's what are you making that bad grade mean about you? What's the story you're telling yourself? Are you saying that you're a failure and you can't learn? Or Or are you using it and saying, okay, I got these questions wrong. These are the gaps in my knowledge. These are how I'm going to learn. This is how I'm going to improve. It's all about what are we making this say about ourselves.
Exactly. Don't like, for example, an interview, you didn't get it. You interviewed multiple. Like, I got to the last round, but I didn't get the job. Did I not get the job because I'm not like worthy of this job? I don't have the competence. Not just like, don't take it that way, right?
The job wasn't
like,
meant for you.
The
There's
job wasn't
something
meant
better.
for you. You learned. You gained experience. You did whatever, 7 interviews. You didn't get it eventually. Nonetheless, you learned from it. You're able to and feel these emotions. Okay, that like, okay, next time mentally I'm going to be even stronger for the next one. So that's very important duality.
And this is what I think is what makes you a very powerful person, because there's 2 types of power. So there's circumstantial power. So if everything goes really well, I can feel really good and I'm in my power. Then there's personal power, that regardless of my circumstances, I'm okay.
Wow.
I still have my power.
Okay, so there's circumstantial and personal.
And personal power.
That's personal power is
And
the
personal
key.
power is where you want to get to. How do you get personal power? By being able to own all of your emotions, by being able to change your narrative, that instead of telling yourself that there's something wrong with you, saying, I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to develop, and it's all okay. So it's using even what doesn't seem to be working for you. It's having the belief that life works for you and not against you.
That's very interesting, because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, because like what I'm thinking of is like when you have control over your internal like mind, let's say, this also impacts your external like the circumstantial power you were talking about, right? Because it's all starts within, I feel. Like when change starts within, you will eventually affect your circumstances and the people that surround you.
Yeah.
No, I feel that's amazing. And Walid told me previously that he was very interested about the 3rd type of coaching, which we promised to get deep into, woman empowerment. I let Walid talk to you about this.
Because it's fundamental,
Yeah.
right? It's very important, nowadays, like everyone should have equal rights, obviously. And I love the fact that you empower women, in corporate life, entrepreneurship life, helping them reach their objectives, goals, ambitions. And it's like, it's not easy, obviously, for both genders. I'm not going to say it's easy for men. No, it's not easy. But I would say that maybe in the society, the culture that we are in, we're still potentially not at the same level that the Western societies have reached in terms of women empowerment and providing them with the tools, providing with the resources to reach their ambitions. So this is obviously a very important topic to highlight to our audience. So like, what's potentially the biggest challenge maybe, or one of the challenges, women in our culture, in our society face? Because I believe like women in our society, in some places, it is evolving and getting better, but there's still a certain type of thought process that's built within women, and that's not like the Western society. Like, okay, potentially, yeah, there's some girls that, okay, you're raised eventually to get in the house, cook, and raise the kids. That's not the way I think they should think. Or maybe there's a lot of, like, they see lots of negatives. Should I like put more makeup on for work, to look good, not look good? So like, there's so many things, I tackled here. And maybe to direct it to one question, what's the biggest challenge right now for women, to reach?
I mean, I would definitely say that this is the women that I work with. It ranges between, we're in Dubai at the moment, Middle East, but, even in the Western world, I think naturally women are a lot more nurturing and they do have this aspect to them. The thing that I think is very important in women empowerment is that for the women empowerment movement to really take place, women have to empower themselves.
Themselves
individually. So I have to empower myself as a woman before I start talking about women empowerment. So how do we do that? People pleasing is a really big thing that I think women, we end up doing. We end up saying yes when we mean no. We say yes to all the things. And then what happens is we end up getting resentful. We suffer from overwhelm. We take too much on. We take on work at home. work at work. The other thing is women don't speak up for themselves. The reason why men tend to earn more than women is because they're very comfortable for asking for a pay rise, whereas women tend to play it small more. So what my work for women is very much like own your voice, step into your power, stop people pleasing, stop playing small, start falling in love with who you are, really empower who you are from inside. Then we can start talking about women empowerment. But unless this work is done individually for women.
But how did we reach the stage that, like, okay, you said women naturally are more caring, nurturing. But how did we reach, this, or maybe it came naturally? Like, why are men not scared to, like, quote unquote scared, but like to ask for this pay raise? Why are women, maybe they don't take this risk? Why are we in this situation?
Look, men and women's brain are different. Anyway,
definitely.
They're naturally different.
100%.
And men very much are, hormonally they're different. They have more testosterone. There are so many different reasons. And we could spend hours going to go straight into history and, why are men more likely to do that? For me, that's not really the question to ask. The question is to ask, what can women do now to empower themselves to start stepping into their power more? And it's what changes can we make to move forward? Exactly.
So let's not look at what happened historically, because there's so many events.
There's so many different aspects. There's political, there's gender, there's...
But what can we do now?
Yes, exactly.
As you said, women should find it within them.
Yeah. And that is women to start speaking up for themselves, women start to stop people pleasing, to empower themselves, to, again, fall in love with themselves, start feeling good about who they are, not to be in competition with other women.
100%. That's very important. Now, and during your coaching, like, of course, all that you said right now applies. But again, like this question maybe I asked also previously, like, do you give them any type of like exercises, to do? Like, it could be like exercises to train their brain, practice the way they think, as you mentioned earlier. Any type of physical exercises potentially, because I know, like, even for men, like, we care about the way we look. Even for women, the same thing applies. So, like, what are the most important things, that you teach them, that you tell them, you coach them? What should they do?
Yeah, so it is obviously different for each woman, but some of the training that I do, I just ran an event yesterday about feminine leadership, and that was very much about stepping into our feminine, not stepping into our feminine energy and not really going into our masculine energy, because when women go into their masculine, they step away from their true power. And the thing that I would say with women, it's look how you talk to yourself. Women can really put themselves down, like, I don't look good, she looks better than me, I wish I looked like that, I can't believe I just said that, I wish I said this. So on a general scale for women, I get them to watch how they're talking. Like, I would say to them, talk to yourself like you would your best friend.
100%. Agreed.
It goes for everyone.
So yeah, that's where like your job comes into play. For women, like, you talk women into like believing in themselves, that you are like a leader, you are enough, so that you can make a change on a higher level. But speaking of leadership, I want to listen to your perspective on how do you like spot a leader in a room? What are like these certain character traits that you spot and you say, yep, that's the leader I'm looking for?
So easy. It's someone who is able to lead themselves. So if there's two CEOs here or two leaders, and one person is sat there really, shouting at their team, not, something goes wrong and they're getting angry and they're losing their temper. That for me is not someone who is a true leader. A leader is someone who is able to lead themselves, who's able, where you want to follow and you want to see what that person is doing because you're in awe. It's like how they hold themselves. It's the energy. It's everything to do with, you don't even have to be a CEO to be a leader.
100%.
You could be a leader by, working in a supermarket, but it's the way that you do it. It's the way that you deal with tough situations, and you do it in such grace and with empathy with other people, and you want to help others. Humbleness. That for me is a true leader.
And something that about, because we're talking about leaders, I think something very important to be a leader is that a leader works to produce more leaders. You know, he doesn't lead just to lead the employees or lead co-workers and colleagues. No, I want to lead someone so he becomes his own leader and maybe my leader one day. I think that's really important trait to become
and
a
I
leader.
think the difference, the way I see it, is that the leader who wants to be the best, if they want to be the best, then it means there's no room for anyone else. But if a leader wants to be one of the greatest, then they can stand amongst other great.
Amazing.
And that's what I think makes the leader, that they're happy to have someone else stand by their side and be great as well. It's not like, I'm the best. Like, I'm the greatest.
I totally agree. What do you think?
La,
I love this quote, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. And like, especially what you mentioned, like, I feel there's this misconception, you know, okay, if you have a high position, that means you're automatically called a leader. And that's wrong. Like, as you mentioned, you may work at a supermarket or like anywhere else and be a leader because you have these certain traits. You want to see the people around you succeed. You don't want the success only to be like applicable to you. You want everyone to succeed. And that's like Walid mentioned, like producing the most number of leaders as possible. So, yeah.
And it's almost someone who really embodies it. So it's not like you sit in the boardroom and you're, able to get everyone to do what you want them to do. And then you go home and you're having an argument with your wife and you're not very nice to your children. And it's that, for me, isn't really a leader. It's exhausting having to be someone somewhere. For me, a leader is they embody all of it.
Naturally. Like, and
so
in their life.
Exactly. So that when it's like, who are you when no one's looking?
Exactly. It's all the time.
That's a leader, like true embodiment.
No, yeah, definitely. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you don't want to be fake. You know, like, as you said, if you're just doing it at work, you're faking it.
Yeah, people can sense it.
Yeah, 100%. They will read through you.
They feel it, yeah.
I mean, and now we go back to the woman part. Is it more difficult to... I'll give you my opinion, then I'd love to hear yours. Is it more difficult to be a woman leader than like a man leader? We've established what's a leader.
Yeah.
So like for me, I mean, it's definitely, difficult for both genders. It comes with lots of challenges. And okay, with the history that has happened before maybe, and the way now women, are leading, it is a tougher challenge for them to reach these levels. Especially, for example, back in the days, you would see board of directors that's 10 men, let's say. Now women are getting into these boards. That's a good sign, definitely, because for me, I love to have a woman's perception, because as you said, physically in the mind, the brains are different. So it's good to have this perception of a woman. So like back to the main question, but like for me, I think it's a bit more challenging, it's becoming more and more implemented by the governments and all of that. But even if you go to look at the government in Lebanon, for example, you have 128 member of the parliament, maybe 10 women. It's not the exact number, but like, you see what I mean here? Yeah,
I think times need to catch up. I actually think women make absolutely great leaders, and of
course, but it's more challenging for them to reach that. I
think it's more challenging because of the way society's set up, not because of the fact that women can do it. I think women, when they move up and they really step into their feminine and they're not leading with their masculine, they can make incredible leaders.
Yeah, 100%.
So I feel like you're on a mission. Every day you wake up, that's what you're fighting for. That's your passion, and that's what you're fighting for. You said yesterday you were at this feminine leadership workshop. So when did you start these type of workshops, and did this like validate your passion for women empowerment in general?
So actually yesterday was my first one. It was the first one that I hosted.
Wow, I would love to hear it. Like, is it online? Or?
Yeah, no, it's live. And
it was only live, not recorded.
So I really want to start doing live events. I have this real desire to like share my wisdom with,
of course, knowledge based on knowledge and experience,
women
definitely,
and everyone really. So I'm going to start doing them once a month. on different topics.
Would love to get invited.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Definitely. Maybe just one more thing regarding this topic. What, like, of course, you said find it in yourself, but what would be like a catalyst move to let Arab women, speed up their process? I mean, fundamentally, it comes from within. Is there anything else you can add to that?
I think just more women putting their hands up and saying this is what we want, and moving forward and fighting for it. I think it is happening, especially in Dubai. I think
100%. Yeah, in Dubai definitely. In the UAE as a whole.
And really, I think it's just creating more positions for women to be able to stand into it. So, and this is why I think when I'm doing talks like on feminine leadership, it's so important, because when women are in more powerful positions, unfortunately, what happens is we feel that we have to step into our masculine, very much use the pushing and the forcing and that kind of energy, which you end up getting overwhelmed and burn out because it doesn't match our energy. So that's how I feel that when women are empowered, to lead with their feminine, which is trust and empathy.
How would a society full of only women leaders be? Like, would it be?
Obviously, I think it would be
better.
That's a good
obviously. But look, I still think I'm not even really talking about difference in gender. I think it's just about having people who are leading, who have dealt with their own internal trauma and their internal limiting beliefs, because so many people in power, you 100%. Can see that what's coming out is fear. It's fear-based.
And regarding the leadership, I mean, you touched on a very good point. It requires a certain type of discipline, to build this leadership mindset. And I know you've worked on it, you've built it on yourself. You posted about like not eating sugar, no alcohol, no carbs for like 100 days. How were you able to sustain that? Would you also advise it to some of the people that come and see you? And what's the benefits of it? I mean, what was the end goal,
If they want to, I mean, I'm definitely not the person to tell anyone to do anything.
Not tell them, but advise them maybe.
It depends if that's what they want. I think for me,
was it about?
Yeah, the reason why I did it is because one of my sayings is to make drastic changes, you have to make drastic changes.
You have to make drastic changes.
Yeah, so if you want to change your life, then you have to change your life.
That's a very simple way and effective way to put it.
And a very hard thing to do. So, to make drastic changes and then make drastic changes is drastic. I wanted to do something really drastic, basically.
What did you want to do? Is it like you just wanted, to change a certain mindset, implement a certain discipline? You want to lose maybe a bit of weight? So like, what was the end goal
everything.
It was everything.
It was everything. I really wanted
to. It helped you?
Well, massively. I mean, especially with my business, to just because I believe that how you do one thing is how you do a lot of things. So if you're able to be very focused on your diet, with your training, on your, on your vices and not consuming things that are bad for you, that has a domino effect in different areas of your life. Obviously. So if you're always giving in to sugar, what other area in your life are you also giving into? What other parts of your life? Where at work are you giving in? Where,
that's
it all starts?
Deep, man.
It really does. So,
you're touching good points.
So I just wanted to, again, it's all embodiment. And I really wanted to sit and prove to myself that I could do it. And I did. So I'm now on nearly 200 days of no alcohol.
200 days?
Yeah.
Wow. And how does it feel like in general?
Good. Feels really good. Yeah. Feels good.
Did you feel like you built like a close relationship with your emotions because you had like this clarity when you stopped drinking and like sugar and carbs in general?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. I think for me, I had a real thing about not wanting to be bored.
Not wanting to be bored.
Yeah, I really have a thing with boredom. And I didn't realize that until I had taken away, because I would sit there on the weekend and maybe I'd have a glass of wine and to wind down. And what I realized it was me running away from being bored. I didn't want to be bored.
You just made me realize that I have the same thing.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And actually once I learned to sit with my boredom,
But how did you
realized-
manage your boredom? I mean, at the end of the day, how why would you feel bored? I mean, it's like you need to fill your time with activities, or maybe naturally when you go out before then, you felt like if you don't drink, it's boring?
It was just, I didn't realize it until I had stopped. And then I thought, I was thinking, God, I am feeling a bit bored. And I thought, okay. And then I'd taken up painting. I've taken up so many different hobbies I've got into. I've started Reiki training. So I just ended up filling my time with so many other things. So yeah, it's been, I think the big thing about taking away a vice is learning to sit with your emotions. And
learning to controlling your emotions.
Just like,
I think is the main takeaway.
I'm feeling a bit sad, or I'm feeling all this. And the fact that I've managed to sit with the range of emotions, I've blown my own mind to what I can do.
So this discipline helped you, this discipline in eating also helped you, like disciplining your emotions, your mind, the way you
Discipline my
think,
business,
your
discipline,
business.
yeah, with my
like
money,
these small changes,
everything.
sometimes people don't realize that.
It is
like
all
these
adds
things
up.
can have a huge impact.
Because it's the same process. You've
It's
only
the
got
same
one
process.
brain.
Yeah.
So the way you use your brain for one thing, you're using it for exactly the same strategy on something
That's
else.
something I apply also in my life, like working out. Like I have to work out, like don't eat like at least 2 hours, 3 hours before you go to sleep. Don't eat, and these small things, when you discipline them without you even noticing, they help you, as you said, discipline the way you approach a business in your life, like with commitment, and so like I definitely advise the audience to realize these small habits that they could change, which they might not realize how big of an impact it could have on their mindset and eventually their lifestyle.
Yeah. And it is the little habits. It's like, say, you want to crack a really big stone and you're cracking the hammer at it. And this is a book on the atomic habits. And you hit and you hit and you hit. And then one hit after 1,000 breaks the stone. Now, it wasn't that 1,000th hit. It was the accumulation of these little bits of pressure that made it. And so to get the big impact,
wow,
you need that.
I love these
little...
quotes. We need to quote it and put it on the wall right
That's
here.
from the Atomic Habit book. So yeah,
that's the clip.
No, it's actually crazy we're having this conversation because right before we came here, Walid was asking me like, yo, what did you do yesterday night? And I was like, I didn't do anything. And it's maybe like the first Friday, I don't do anything. But that's my question.
Great.
Maybe because like now, or like, okay, it's been a while, but since you started like practicing your passion, is it like not, okay, khalas, I finish the weekdays and then I come to the weekends. So yeah, I need to do something. I need to have fun. But actually you're having fun every day. So does this play a role? Because for me, ever since we started this podcast, like for me personally, I haven't been going out as much. I don't mind sitting Friday night at home because I know today I'll come, I'll have such a wonderful conversation, just like we're having right now. So I don't know. Again, it's crazy because now, like while you're talking, I'm like,
you're realizing that.
Yeah, exactly. So does this play a role when you're passionate about something and when you're so focused on something, like you wouldn't have imagined you're in this type of situation where you would reach this, but
I'll tell you what's been the biggest difference for me. It's slowing down.
Slowing down, taking a moment.
Yeah.
Breathe.
And it's really like just the importance of rest, the importance of, having a bath in the evening, or what I would have considered before, like, or in my 20s, like, this is too boring. Now it's like there's a real art in just stopping, because it's when you slow down that you are giving your brain a rest to start taking on the big ideas. And really that's sometimes where my biggest inspirations drop, is when it's quiet. So what I used to do is I'd listen to a podcast. I wanted to make the most of every minute, like even listen to how my voice has become it's like I want to listen to this and I want to listen to that, and it's exhausting. And then what happens, you burn out. Whereas I've managed to like get this kind of even, bit of happiness. It's like a mountain. It just goes up and up and up and up. And it's done in a way that really looks after my nervous system, that I can go like, this is my business, and, peak up. And then I can kind of rest and then I can peak up again and rest and peak up rather than go, and then crash.
100%.
And it's looking after your nervous system. And it is, and I think what you're doing is incredible. You're slowing down because the highs are they're not fake highs. They're much more powerful.
Yeah,
it's more organic, I feel.
Yes,
taking time to contemplate on what's happening, refocusing, that's
and that's why
important.
CEOs, the higher they get, the more they're actually being paid to think.
Exactly. Not to execute.
They're not. No, they're not going to sit and answer the phone on reception, are they? Because that's not going to be a good use of their time. They're paid to think.
To think, exactly, and then give the actions. What maybe the next question is an important one. What's one advice from all our conversation that you would give the audience to reach their ambitions, to reach their goals, stop thinking negatively about themselves? So what would you advise them?
So my big advice is to just have a look and see how you're getting in your own way. Because most of the time when we're not achieving what we want, we tend to go into the blame game. Like, I didn't get that promotion, or my boss doesn't like me, or my parents weren't nice to me, or, my boyfriend broke my heart. And there comes a point where you need to take radical responsibility for your life.
100%.
And it can be tough, but I find it also the most liberating thing because it means we're in control. So
100%.
I would take a really good look.
Very, very inspiring. Would you like to add anything to that?
Noona, I just want to know, what are your future plans down the road? Are you looking to expand the type of coaching you've already given, or you're now focusing on executive, corporate, and women empowerment?
Oh no, I have massive plans. So
wow.
Any spoilers you can give out?
Yeah, no, I really want to create the Netflix of corporate training online. So I really want to create a big website where people can go in and be like, oh, how to recruit, but how to recruit using everything that I've got to teach. So I want to teach, how to do sales, how to get a promotion, how to have a better relationship. So I really want to create this online body of work. But I also really have a desire to speak to, I see myself speaking in front of thousands of people. So I don't know when that's going to happen.
Hopefully
but it will.
soon. Hopefully soon, Noona. I mean, a lot of beautiful, much value-added insights that were provided to the audience and to us. I mean, I was enlightened personally. And I would like to say thank you very, very, very much for today.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. And please, anyone, you can go ahead and follow Noona Nafoosi on LinkedIn. You can approach her at any time. She's always here to help. You can see today how much insights she provided.
100%.
And I don't know if you want to have any closing words.
Yeah, no, honestly, just to say, first of all, thank you so much. I love what you're doing. I think the chemistry between you is great.
And
I just love this podcast. I'm definitely going to listen to your other podcast. I really hope that this has helped somebody to just inspire them to
100%.
take
That's our
action.
Aim. That's our aim.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please do not forget, subscribe, hit the alert button so you get the notifications.
And leave a review, become higher takers.
Exactly. Leave a feedback. Let us know if there's certain topics you want us to talk about. We'd be more than happy to look into that. Maher, please finish it off.
Guys, always have
a higher take on life.
Thank you, guys.